The occupation army said Monday it had again hit Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip overnight in retaliation for incendiary balloon and rocket attacks launched from the Palestinian enclave. Israel has bombed Gaza run by Hamas almost daily since August 6th, while balloons carrying firebombs and less frequently rocket fire have hit Israel from Gaza. An Egyptian delegation has been trying to broker a return to an informal truce. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo landed in the occupied territories Monday on the first leg of his Mideast press, the momentum of the Trump administration's Arab-Israeli peace push. Secretary Pompeo was scheduled to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in occupied Jerusalem and discusses Iran and China. The State Department had said after his Palestine stop, the U.S. official was also slated to visit Sudan, the UAE, and the Kingdom of Bahrain, with additional stops in the Gulf possible. According to state media, an explosion hit a major natural gas pipeline near the Syrian capital of Damascus early Monday and triggered power outages across the Middle Eastern nation. The blast may have been the result of a terrorist attack. The Syrian Arab News Agency cited Oil Minister Ali Ghanem saying, without providing further details. No deaths or injuries were reported from the blast, which struck the Arab gas pipeline that feeds southern parts of the country. The 1,200 kilometers Arab gas pipeline delivers the fuel from Egypt to Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. A white supremacist who killed 51 people at 2 mosques in New Zealand last year watched without emotion on Monday as relatives of his victims recounted the horror of a massacre which prosecutors said he carefully planned to cause maximum carnage. Australian national Brenton Tarrant, who is 29 years old, has pleaded guilty to 51 murders, 40 attempted murders, and 1 charge of committing a terrorist act during the shooting rampage in the city of Christchurch, which he live-streamed on Facebook. He could be the first person in New Zealand to receive a term of life in prison without parole when a High Court judge sentences him later this week for carrying out the deadliest shooting in the country's history on March 15th last year. Bombs exploded in a southern Philippine town Monday, killing at least 5 soldiers and wounding 17 other military personnel and civilians, despite extra tight security because of threats from Abu Sayyaf militants. The regional military spokesman and police said the blast damaged a food store, a computer shop, and 2 army trucks at noon in Dulu town in Sulu province. An initial report said the first bomb was attached to a parked motorcycle. A second blast was heard in the area shortly after, but it was not immediately clear if it caused more casualties or damage in the downtown area, which has been cordoned off by troops and police. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on Monday extended a lockdown in New Zealand's largest city, saying more time was needed to ensure a stubborn cluster of coronavirus infections was under control. Premier Ardern said stay-at-home orders would remain in place across Auckland until at least late Sunday, instead of restrictions easing late Wednesday as originally planned. Auckland went into lockdown on August 12th, a day after the virus re-emerged in the city, ending New Zealand's record of 102 days without community transmission. South Korea's capital has mandated the wearing of face masks in both indoor and outdoor public places for the first time as the country battles a surge in coronavirus cases centered in the densely populated Seoul region. In May, Seoul's government had ordered that face masks be worn on public transport and taxis, but the latest spike in cases has health officials worried that the country may need to impose its highest level of social distancing. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 266 new cases as of midnight on Sunday, a drop from the 397 new infections reported the day earlier, but a continuation of more than a week of triple-digit daily increases. American authorities announced on Monday an emergency approval of blood plasma from recovered coronavirus patients as a treatment against the disease that has killed over 176,000 in the U.S. The Food and Drug Administration's announcement comes as President Donald Trump faces intense pressure to curb the contagion that has hobbled the world's largest economy and clouded his once promising prospects for re-election in November. The plasma is believed to contain powerful antibodies that can help fight off the disease faster and help protect people from being seriously hurt by it. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe wants to take care of his health and do his utmost at his job, he said on Monday, after a second hospital visit within days sparked concern whether he could stay on as leader of the world's third biggest economy. The visit came as Japan's longest-serving prime minister surpassed a record for longest consecutive tenure as premier set by his great-uncle half a century ago, adding to speculation Premier Abe could resign after reaching the milestone. The prime minister has suffered a slide in voter support to one of the lowest levels since returning to office for a second term in 2012, with promises to revive the economy and bolster defense. Canada's main opposition Conservative Party on Monday elected Erin O'Toole, a former cabinet minister and armed forces veteran, to be its new leader and the primary challenger to Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. O'Toole replaces Andrew Scheer, who failed to unseat Premier Trudeau in an election last year. In the leadership race, O'Toole beat out the better-known Peter MacKay, who co-founded the Conservative Party in 2003 and was a high-profile member of former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government and two other candidates. Republicans are gearing up to formally nominate President Donald Trump as the party's choice to run for the White House at this week's Republican National Convention, which will run from Monday to Thursday. Much like the Democratic National Convention last week, the Republican National Convention will be a departure from the big arena-based conventions of the past, with fewer in-person events taking place due to the pandemic. But a smaller number of delegates will still gather in Charlotte, North Carolina, for the party's business meetings. Kellyanne Conway, one of U.S. President Donald Trump's most influential and longest-serving advisors, has announced that she will be leaving the White House at the end of the month. Conway, President Trump's campaign manager during the stretch run of the 2016 race, was the first woman to successfully steer a White House bid, then became a senior counselor to the president. She informed the U.S. leader of her decision in the Oval Office. Hurricane Marco and Tropical Storm Laura tore through the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico on Sunday, forcing thousands of coastal residents in Louisiana and Cuba to flee and flooding roads in Haiti's capital, with damage across the region expected to worsen this week. Marco, which strengthened into a hurricane on Sunday with sustained winds of 120 kilometers per hour, is forecast to make landfall along the Louisiana coast on Monday. Laura, which hit the Dominican Republic and Haiti earlier on Sunday, killing at least 10 people before striking Cuba on Sunday evening, is forecast to strengthen into a hurricane on Wednesday before making landfall in Texas or Louisiana on Thursday. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has downplayed the effect of the coronavirus pandemic to Iran's economy, saying it has only shrunk by 3%. President Rouhani, who was speaking at a video conference on Monday, said his administration's power had helped the Iranian economy through the crisis, while most countries reported a 20% dip in their economies. Iran's economy minister earlier said the pandemic had affected 15% of the country's gross domestic product, which the International Monetary Fund suggested could be more than $439 billion in 2020.